Riverside seeds do an ethnic cleansing.
Salute to everyone. Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Stand on Business podcast. All right. Hey, and the sound work on the first time in a long time. God dang. All right. So I believe everyone can hear me because I can't hear myself. So just confirm, everyone, put a one in the chat if you can hear me clearly. I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure I'm not tripping. Just want to make sure. And it's working. Oh, it's going to be a good night. Okay, just want to make sure. I was able to hear myself. So, good evening. Oh, it's good. How's everyone doing? How is everybody? Who do we have in the foxhole? Who is this? CJ Wilkins. Good to see you, sir. Salute to you. All right. And we have, well, welcome. Bubba's God. Good to see you. All right. That's all we have so far. Oh, the third person. That's me on my backup. So just make sure I can hear myself, because sometimes you have to do things yourself. Okay, good to go. Make sure you can hear yourself clearly. So at any rate, we're gonna get started, and we're gonna get right into it. But first, do make sure you take a moment to observe the bottom here. So take a moment to support the fam. All right. Donate to the channel. You can also send a super chat to the channel directly, or you can send a cash up to Black Men Unfiltered. Okay. And if you may be so kind also to support me directly also. Here we go. My cash app is there as well. I will alternate it back and forth. But the biggest way, honestly, is just to go over to my channel directly. Go over there, hit the like button, subscribe. That's the biggest way to support me at this very moment as I grow on my side as well. Okay, so with that in mind, I want to do a little bit of a recap. Okay, just to kind of see where we kind of sort of are. Okay, at this very moment. All right, we are at part 5: religion versus politics, or religious v politics. Sorry, religion v politics. The religious vote gone politically wrong. Now, all the way up to this point, sorry, I'm getting some feedback here. All the way up until this point, we have basically taken a moment and taken a look, for the most part, at religion from its core, and specifically Christianity, all the way up to it from its core, at least from what I believe, what I find to be its core, and basically how we got here, for the most part, from the Nicene Council. And we've kind of even talked about how we got here from even before then. Talked about it, deliberated about it with Mr. Bennett. So, Mr. Bennett, appreciate you for always taking a moment to volley back and forth with me about this objectively. So I appreciate it. and then bringing it forward to now for the most part, even through how it's been briefly, how it's been weaponized throughout history. And we're still not kind of done with that topic to some degree, because we're going to get into that to some degree. Because tonight we're going to talk about essentially how it's been used politically, or at least attempted to be used politically. But first, check this out. My my daughter found something, and I have to share it. All right, I have to share it. All right, if I can find it, here it is, right here. This is Donnie and his mother. Check out what his mother said about him. You know, oh mother, yes, he is an idiot with zero common sense and no social skills, but he is my son. I just hope he never gets into politics. He'd be a disaster. I thought that would be quite the icebreaker to get started. But obviously, there are those who seem to think he is quite the savior. Oop, yes, quite the disaster. Yes. All right, so let's get right into it. All right, I got something I want to show you guys. I put together a couple of things. I want to get right into the content as I try to figure out why I have feedback here. Get right into the content because there's quite a bit, and then I want to get right into the commentary. And the theme of tonight is essentially the use of the religious vote, basically used as a way of trying to shape politics. And I told you guys, I warned about this in my first, I keep going back to it, my first debut video on how one can use religiosity or religion in itself politically by charging it into your political vote and trying to exercise that essentially, or basically wield your, I guess, religious will into and by way of your ballot, okay, for the most part. So, and essentially, it's basically choosing or using what is ethereally something that is supposed to be spiritual, supposed to be in the mind, in the body, and the heart, and basically trying to effectuate that into the corporeal world. And basically going against what I'm going to facetiously say, the deified man, what he said: render unto Caesar what is Caesar, but what is God, leave it to God. Essentially, what's happened here is that we're trying to mix something that shouldn't be mixed. Okay. And I'm starting to get the impression that the people who who basically focused so much on trying to correct and overcorrect politically with a religious key is starting to find the fuck out because they continue to fuck around. Yeah. And see, look, check it out. Hold on. Real quick. I have to do it really quick. See, there's something I got to show. You see, right here on this line right here, you see, there's this line right here. You see, the more you see this right here is fuck around right here, and this is finding the fuck out. You see, what happens is the more you continue to drift around on fuck around, the more you tend to find the fuck out. And that is what everybody is starting to understand. All right. So watch this.
Lover, and I'm not gonna lie, I do feel failed by the Christian community with the outcome of this election. I know that the Republican Party is really attractive to a lot of Christians because of their pro life policy and because of how Republican members, party members, how they talk about Jesus and how they put him like on the forefront of their campaigns. But I don't think a lot of Christians thought past those two main points,
Sure didn't.
because a lot of the policies that Project 2025 and Donald Trump want to bring into that White House are going to be harmful to people who are alive right now. They're going to be harmful to black people. They're going to be harmful to people in my community. And I don't think that everyone thought about that. I think because abortion is such a big topic, since it's something that people talk about so much and it's so huge to them, it feels like a huge sin in the Christian community that if you get abortion, it's the worst thing you can do. It is the largest sin. Because of that idea, people don't realize that we are neglecting people who are here today. The people that Jesus told us to love before he left the earth in the Bible, when he said, love your neighbor, love your brother. And I want y'all to know,
Now
me
check
and
this
Jesus
out.
are locked in.
I want
Like,
to point out something really quick, because a lot of times what I oftentimes heard from Christians, what I heard from well, obviously pastors are Christians, but from Christian sympathizers, from pastors, from just about everyone, is I just cannot vote for the other side, even though their policies might make some sense, might need a little work, might need a little tweaking. The policies might make some sense. Hey, Mandrell, good to see you. The policies might make some sense, might need a little work, might need a little seasoning, might need a little elbow grease, but for the most part, I just can't vote for somebody because why? Because they believe that someone can love someone of the same gender, or someone believes that a man can be a woman, or someone believes something that is somewhere in the book. Hold on. Yeah. Somewhere in this book, the White Jesus Bible, somewhere in this good book, something that they stand for, the party aggregately, okay, they somewhat stand for. Therefore, because they do that, I can't vote for them. Never mind the real world consequences, the real corporeal consequences that that vote may ultimately entail and inexorably, entail. And it may lead to some sort of consequence. Okay. And the government itself will tell you that it does not deal in the realm of opinion. And to the government, no matter how conservative they are, to the government, religion is in the realm of opinion. This is a matter of opinion, according to the government, whether you like it or not. Fuck around, keep finding out.
we have a relationship. It's not just a topical thing. Like, I know him and he knows me. And I know in that word, Jesus was a man of justice. He cared about people, the people who were already there. And so for people to vote in a person who has policies that would be harmful to most people, Project 2025 wants to get rid of the Department of Education. But the Department of Education is what gives so many kids in the foster care system, kids in low income neighborhoods, the ability to go to school, the resources they need to go to school. So you voting him in office is essentially voting for so many kids across the United States not to be able to attend school because they're going to get rid of the Department of Education. But you voted for pro-life though. So that means more kids will be born without the ability to attend school. Do y'all see what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of people in the Christian community did not look outside of what their personal situation was. They didn't think about the well-being of other people. No, neither candidate was perfect. Neither candidate had views that were just so amazing. But I feel like focusing on pro-life legislation is really going to be the downfall of a lot of people in our country.
Come on.
Police will be allowed to do stop and frisks unprovoked. the Black community has been marginalized and targeted by the policing system for decades, because the policing system was created after Black people were freed from slavery, so that there could be a group of people, police, to go after Black people when they were wrongfully accused of crimes, so that people could still get free labor out of Black people for a justified reason, because they were criminals.
Okay, so let's add some quantifiers here. She said Black people. Obviously, I'm going to add, and I'm going to say some Black people. Depending on the decade, you'd say most Black people. Depending on the situation or the region, you would say a particular group of Black people. The point is that there was racial profiling, and on this network here, it has been observed that racial profiling is something that does happen. Was something that was happening, and is something that currently happens today. Still, maybe not as much. Okay, cool. But it does happen. And when you look around and you see people in Ohio with red flags with black crosses on it, in skull masks and whatnot, shouting racial epithets and stuff, just after the bronzer in chief just gets, elected and whatnot. And we didn't see that at all while Biden was in office. Not a coinkydink. At the same time, we saw when the last time that the mango megalomaniac was in office, the last time, what did we see? Will not replace us. Will not replace us. But they were fine people on both sides. One time, coincidence. Two times, are we stupid or not? Just saying. I mean, come on, how many times do we need to see the same thing for it to be a pattern of behavior as opposed to being just a coincidence? How many times do we need to see it? But then again, the reason why I bring these two topics together, well, you guys see it down here, but these two topics together I bring these two topics together for it to be for you guys to understand that bringing these two topics together is problematic. Welcome to Revelation. This election has revealed the truth of how people really think. And FAFO. That's what I'm saying.
Now that frisks, who do you think that affects? Black people. What did you think about that though when you voted?
Oh, it's not just going to affect Black people. It's going to affect anyone who isn't white. But I'll take it a step further, because I'm going to stand by my word. When I say that it's very hard to prove that this man is racist, I'm going to stick by that. I'm going to stick by it because the man has not. Oh, it is rough for me. I'm going to stick by that objective thought. He provably is more classist. It burns. Anyone who doesn't fit in a certain class, which ironically fits right into racism, but although, man, it really is hard to prove that someone isn't racist whenever we are rescinding executive orders that are designed for designed to protect discrimination against race, color, and ethnicity. Man, it's really difficult when the first thing you do is go and you go and attack or touch or mess around with civil rights type shit. I mean, I mean, all the things you can mess with in the federal government, and that is what you go and touch. Shit from 1865. I mean, 1685. I mean, oh, crap, 1965. Can't get the dates right. That you go and touch that. Thanks. Kind of hard to make my case, man. Kind of hard. Burns.
It just makes me feel so disappointed. Jesus said to look out for our brothers and sisters, and even Paul wrote about how if eating meat offends his brother, he won't even eat meat. So, did we think about how other policies would offend our brothers and sisters? I'm not sure that we did, but it's very disappointing, and I just wanted to bring that here. I know I can't fix everything. I was crying in tears this morning because, yeah, maybe abortions being outlawed potentially across the whole entire country would prevent mothers from getting legal abortions because illegal abortions still exist. Maybe it will prevent mothers from having their children, prevent mothers from getting abortions. But what does it do to the millions of other people who are already here and the millions of other kids that are going to come? What kind of world are they going to be born into?
Of good information. We've been rewriting it, and we are going to bring in something called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. So if someone is civilly committed, typically you can hold them for up to 72 hours, but people are getting out within 24 hours, the majority of them. So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They're a danger to themselves.
Which you can't
or
do
others.
right now.
Well, because without being adjudicated. So because they're a danger to themselves.
You want them to take the guns and
when they are
not go through 6 months of legal trials and everything.
Just take the guns, huh? You're just gonna gloss right over that, right? But Republicans, you're worried about Democrats coming in and just taking the guns, right? Very well. Exactly. What's next?
More Trump voters are publicly regretting their vote for Donald Trump as he continues to back out of campaign promises and instead focuses on his billionaire friends. Now, first it was the Steelworkers Union out of Pennsylvania. Now firefighter unions in New York City are publicly speaking out.
Say it ain't so.
Donald Trump and Republicans failed to fund the 9/11 first responder healthcare program that is designed to help the first responders who are still suffering from being there on the ground during 9/11. Now, you could say that Donald Trump had nothing to do with that. Understand, Republicans took that out of the funding bill under direction from President-elect Trump and Elon Musk. Now, so far, Donald Trump has only focused on delivering for his billionaire buddies and
not Elonia Muskrat
nonsense such as Greenland, Canada, Mexico, Panama, all this stuff that he didn't talk about. Not once have you heard him talk about lowering gas prices, lowering grocery prices, your energy bill, etc. All the things he promised during the campaign, he is backing out of because he only cares about one person, himself, and the people who paid to get him elected.
Interesting. Now, to be fair, I am objective. He's only been in office for a month. Right? Right. This is true. He's only been in office for a month. Oh. I'm taking my time for a reason, y'all. Taking my time for a reason. Because, see, he's only been in power for a month. Right? Now, why can't I get to exactly what I'm trying to get to now? Hang on. I'm going to get to it. briefings, fact sheet. Hold on, we're gonna get there. Is this it? Oh yeah, it is. I'm looking dead at it. Okay. But he has signed. I'm looking at it over 20. Yo, just really quick. If you see this right here, this goes on for 23 pages worth of executive orders. He even ensured the federal workers had to come back in the office, right? And we can't forget about plastic straws. Oh my God. Can't forget about them plastic straws, man. Because them paper ones, man, is a problem. Can't forget about that. Can't forget about them plastic straws. But what I do want to point out is that he has provided red meat to you all, to the conservatives, and as a form of smoke and mirrors. And I do want to make sure I point out the smoke and mirrors, because I want to point out the smoke and mirrors, for instance, on like the two genders thing, for instance, because that's what conservatives are really worried about, for instance, right? That's all you guys are really concerned about. It's like the two genders thing. Okay, there's only two genders. Okay, well, let me ask you guys a question. Let's think objectively for a second. When you guys fill out a federal form, say W-2, W-4, excuse me. When it asks you about your gender, how many boxes do you see? Don't you only see male or female? Right. When you fill out an application on an I-9 form, don't you normally only see two boxes? And maybe you might see a third, and that third might say other. That's a prime example of giving you guys red meat to chew on, to give y'all some shit that really don't fucking matter in the first place. Because the government was already only doing male or female in the first place. I'm going to put some shit in an executive order that's already happening in the first place. Somebody's going to say, boss man, you got up on the panel and you said that there were 72 genders. You corrected, shout out to Arpain. You corrected Arpain on the fact that there was 72. I did. Did you check my source? The source was not the federal government. It wasn't. It wasn't. The people who actually cared or was actually concerned about there being more than just like all these plethora numbers of genders is predominantly the people who were predominantly non-binary. And those people represent a minority within a minority within a minority within a minority of the LGBTQIA plus community. If we're really just being honest. But the government already recognized just two genders anyway. It wasn't, the government was putting on the birth certificate anyway, male or female, M or F. Damn it. But on that executive order, however, there was other stuff. Smoke and mirrors. Give you another example. When it comes to the one that was regarding the let me go back. How about the one that's ending racial indoctrination of K through 12? This is an ambiguous one, or just a nebulous one if I have never heard of it. Where messy. I don't know. They'll watch later. Now I'm going to show an example of this, and then we'll get back to the material, because this is something to me that I find very, very peculiar. Okay. Now, this is an example of putting something in writing, and just because it's in writing doesn't mean that it's true. Okay, so parents trust America's schools to provide their children with a rigorous education and to instill a patriotic admiration for our incredible nation, and the values for which we stand. That is not the purpose of schools. That's some Hitler shit, bitch. No, 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 no. It is not the purpose of school. In recent years, however, parents have witnessed schools indoctrinate their children in radical anti-American ideologies while deliberately blocking parental oversight. I live in what you would consider a purplish state. And I'm able to log into my kids' portal just fine and see anything I want, the teacher's notes, and everything. So it really honestly depends on the actual school system or the school, I guess, district, and how piss poor it might be. I wonder where some of that's happening at. I wonder which states those are. Such an environment operates as an echo chamber in which students are forced to accept those ideologies without question or critical examination. In many cases, innocent children are compelled to adopt identities as either victims or oppressors solely based on the skin color, skin color, and other immutable characteristics. In other instances, young men and women are made to question whether they are born in the wrong body and whether to view their parents and their reality as enemies to be blamed. These practices not only erode critical thinking, but also sow division, confusion, and distrust, which undermine the very foundations of personal identity and family unity. Okay. Now, this talks about the issue of, yes, bringing up white privilege, the issue of parental authority and anti-discrimination laws. Yes, females, male and female, and oh, here we go. For example, steering students towards surgical and chemical mutilation without parental consent or involvement, or allowing males access to private spaces designated for females may contravene federal laws that protect parental rights, including the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, and the protection for rights and sex-based equality and opportunity, including Title 9 of Education Amendment of 1972. Similarly, demanding acquiescence to white privilege or unconscious bias actually promotes racial discrimination and undermines national unity. So you mean by teaching them what actually happened in history, that it basically promotes what critical thought actually is? Fine. Okay. So this is a nice way of basically saying that we're going to essentially control what is being taught, which to some degree, okay, cool. But there's something, because this is being said, there is something that is not being said. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip forward just a little bit. Because I want to get down to the part where I saw the actual action. What is it this is going to do? Okay. All right, so we got the task force. Okay, so right here. So within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Education shall establish the 1776 Commission of the Department of Education. The commission shall be composed of not more than 20 members who shall be appointed by the president up for a term of 2 years. The commission shall be made up of individuals from outside the federal government with relevant experience or subject matter expertise. The commission shall have a chair or co-chairs at the president's discretion, who shall be designated by the president from among the commission's members. The executive director, designated by the Secretary of Education in consultation with the assistant to the president of for domestic policy, shall coordinate the work of the, I'm just going to say the commission. I'm not saying it that many times. The chair and vice chair shall work with the executive director to convene with, that's what I'm looking for, the commission shall. Here we go. Facilitate the development and implementation of the Presidential 1776 Award to recognize student knowledge of the American founding, include knowledge about the founders, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitutional Convention, and the great soldiers and battles of the American Revolutionary War. In coordination with the White House Office of Public Liaison, coordinate bi-weekly lectures regarding the 250th anniversary of American independence that are grounded in patriotic education principles, which shall be broadcast to the nation throughout calendar year 2026. Upon request, advise executive departments and agencies regarding their efforts to ensure patriotic education indoctrination. So you want to get rid of one set of indoctrination, but you want to replace it with another type of indoctrination. Great. Right? Cool. All right. Let's see. Patriotic indoctrination, okay, is appropriately provided to the public at national parks, battlefield, monuments, museums, installations, landmarks, cemeteries, okay, and other places important to the American founding, American history, as appropriate and consistent by applicable law. Upon request, offer advice and recommendations to and support the work of Task Force 250 and the United States Semi-Quincentennial Commission. Sorry, I had to read that sideways. Regarding their plans to celebrate the 250th anniversary of American independence and facilitate advice upon and promote private and civic activities nationwide to increase public knowledge of and support patriotic education surrounding the 250th anniversary of American independence as appropriate and consistent with applicable law. The Department of Education shall provide funding and administrative support. Wait a second. Provide funding? I thought we was getting rid of that. Okay. And administrative support for the 1776 Commission to extend permitted by law and subject to the availability of appropriations. I thought we were dismantling the Department of Education. What happened? See, they tell you guys that they're going to be, we're going to get rid of the Department of Education. Brr, 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 brr. Riff raff. Brr. But then they throw in here, way at the bottom. Nah, just playing. Okay. Members of the 1776 Commission shall serve without compensation, but as approved by the Department of Education, shall be reimbursed for travel expenses, including per diem in lieu of subsistence, as authorized by law for persons serving intermittently in the government service. Okay. Now we get to the other part. Yep. All relevant agencies shall prioritize federal resources, Department of Education, resources consistent with applicable law to promote patriotic education, including through the following programs. Here we go. The Department of Education's American History and Civics Academies. Okay. And American History and Civics Education, National Activities Programs, Department of Defense's National Defense Education Program, Pilot Programs, Enhanced Civics Education, and Department of State's Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, and Fulbright. Like it's Fulbright. U.S. Speaker and International Visitor Leadership Programs, as well as American Space Network. That's important. I guess the red states didn't read the fine print. I guess not either. Oh, guess who just got installed as the director of office and management and budget? Y'all never would guess that. The president of the former president of the Heritage Foundation. Now, you'll notice something. I read all of that, but did any of you guys catch anything about LGBTQIA+? Did you guys catch what was missed? Don't worry, I'll show it to you. It's the part that said without parental consent. Right there. And the teaching of said information about sex, for instance, without parental consent. Yeah, members of one race, color, sex, and national origin cannot and should not be treated with others without respect to their race, sex, or national origin. Oh yeah, that's them going through and saying what is an issue and what's going to be basically redesigned or redesigned or redefined for the most part. But you know what's find is also funny is that schools were never involved in sending kids or involved in facilitating, what do they call it? Chemical what? Oh, here it is. Surgical mutilations, they call it. Social transition does not include chemical or surgical mutilations. So social transition is going to be okay in schools. It's this part right here, chemical or surgical mutilation. But schools were never ever doing that. Schools were never ever facilitating chemical or surgical mutilation. Schools were never ever. If you had just applied a little bit of common sense, it would have been medical malpractice for a medical facility to perform such a thing on a child or a minor without the parents present, and some representative from the school saying, "Hey, we're just gonna allow this to happen," and then they would have required payment. How would they have gotten paid? But out like you just hear a thing from Fox News, hear a thing from Newsmax, hear a thing from oh, hey, how you doing, Braxton? Good to see you, sir. Hear a thing from the Bronzer in Chief, the Cheeto in Chief, the Agent Orange in command. Hear a thing from them, and then start where they said, and then ask questions and walk it back. Does it make sense? No. But the fact that they had to define social transition to suggest and say it does not include chemical or surgical mutilation as to distinguish the difference from what they were talking about up here says that they will still allow social transition to be the norm in schools. It's just that it just needs to be with parental involvement. Gotcha. Gotta read the fine print, y'all. But so as long as they can hit you with the hold on. So as long as they can hit you with the pretty letters up here saying ending radical indoctrination in K through 12 schooling, executive order by the megalomaniac. Hey, guess what? Caitlyn Jenner can still be called Caitlyn Jenner, and transgender people can still transition, and gay people can still be gay. The very thing that you're probably wanting as the most hateful version of Christians is that what the Bible and what the Levitical law may want and may call to be what? An abomination. What you're ultimately wanting is for them to be removed and eradicated and disposed of, is what you're wanting ultimately. And what you're wanting, you can't get. And the reason why they have to be very careful in this executive order when his big old magic marker is that if he went too far, there are laws, these pesky little things in place called discrimination laws that he can't just eradicate, just erase away, because an executive order does not hold a candle against a statute or a law. But it's Trump's America now. People can come on out the woodwork and come on out the crown molding, and just say that ultimately what the most radical Christians want ultimately is for people who represent the abomination that is spelled out in the Levitical listing, and the people who basically won't qualify to make it in heaven. They ain't gotta wait to go to Hades. They ain't gotta wait to go and meet fire. What you're wanting is the government basically to eradicate them for y'all. That's what y'all want, right? Because otherwise, why hate them so much? Because what you think you got in this executive order, you didn't. What you think you got in the last executive order, you didn't. And you're not. But what you're getting instead is fuckery. What you're getting instead is the exact opposite. You're getting rainy skies. Sorry, you're getting rainy skies and cloudy weather right now. That's what you're getting. That's what the fuck everybody's getting right now, because we have to vote our conscience. We have to vote our Bible. This thing. Our white Jesus. We have to vote our white Jesus right here. This guy. And here's the thing. The white Jesus specifically said, love everybody. That's the confusing part. It's Paul's ass who said that people have to be equally yoked. Why let people who don't worship like us into the church? Oh, sorry. Y'all not ready for that conversation. Let me press play.
Some folks who aren't feeling Trump's optimism right now are American farmers, and they are stuck in the middle of all of this.
Frank, who did you vote for president?
Mr. Trump.
Right?
Trump.
Mr. Trump.
If the election were today, Frank, would you vote for Donald Trump?
No way. Couldn't happen.
No.
You voted for President Trump. So now, in this moment, you say you're in a free fall. What is your message to him?
So I'm off the Trump train. Where I'm going from now is I got to protect my business.
A wheat farmer who says he's lost $400,000 since Trump took office.
I think there was a lot of people who voted for him that want to stay loyal to him, but it's going to get to the point where financially, if it's between supporting the president or losing your family farm.
You voted for the president?
Yes, I did.
And do you support these policies which might be hurting farmers like you?
Right now, we're the ones that are taking the hit.
I think he's sort of backstabbing the main people who got him into office in the Midwest, and he just left us down.
But Trump's cuts and his funding freeze are also affecting some federal employees who voted for him. As you see here, someone named Justin posted this online. This is in direct response to Trump, and he wrote, quote, "It really sucks that in 1 week of your presidency, I know you're federally funded, and it cut my overtime and knocked it down to 37.5 hours a week. If this isn't resolved, I'll loose everything. Thanks, and I voted for you," shaking my head. That really does suck, Justin. If only you had another alternative for president. Someone who wouldn't have frozen funding and cut vital programs.
We voted for Trump because he promised while he was campaigning like 1,000,000 times that when he got into office, he was going to bring down prices, bring down grocery prices. The inflation has been high ever since COVID, and he promised he would bring that down. But it's obvious to me now that that was not true. Egg prices have skyrocketed. The bird flu is killing all the birds, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything about that. He's stopping disease communications from the disease centers in America, pulled us of the WHO. Like, how does that help anything? And Yeah, all he's been doing is taking away rights and freedoms, or trying to. He's not doing anything about the economy. So, yeah, we totally regret our vote at this point. We've had a really tough time here in North Carolina. Half of my house.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what America wants. Nice and calm. You're almost there.
That's what the people want.
Got washed away in Hurricane Helene, and I applied for FEMA assistance, and we got approved. But now Trump is canceling FEMA and
Lila, you got to be able to pume.
Canceled Medicaid.
Lila, you got to be able to pume.
Put a halt on his freezing.
Lila, you got to be able to pume.
Working, so we can't access anything for our children's health insurance.
Lila, you got to be able to pume.
This morning, I received an email from one of my long-standing staff members, and Mark runs constituent services.
This right here just might send me off the fucking rocker. So I'm gonna just play
for me, and he did so when I was governor as well. Mark sent me this morning, he reached out to send me this article that appeared on the 10th of January in military.com. Military drops recruiting efforts at prestigious Black Engineering Awards event. I'd like it entered into the record, Mr. Chair. First two paragraphs of the article, here they are. The Army and other service branches are abandoning recruiting efforts at a prestigious Black engineering event this week, turning down access to a key pool of highly qualified potential applicants amid President Donald Trump's purge of diversity initiatives in the military. Until this week, Army Recruiting Command had a long-standing public partnership with the Black Engineer of the Year Awards, or BEYA, an annual conference that draws students, academics, and professionals in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. The event, which takes place in Baltimore, has historically been a key venue for the Pentagon to recruit talent, including awarding ROTC Corps scholarships and pitching military service to rising engineers. Past BEYA events have included the Army Chief of Staff and the Defense Secretary. This is one of the most dense events we do, one Army recruiter told military.com, on the condition that their name not be used. Our footprint there has always been significant. We need the talent. My staffer, Mark, said to me when he sent me this article, I would never have served in the military if there weren't men and women who looked like me in the recruiting process. Limiting military recruitment to avoid qualified Black applicants in the name of DEI will ultimately hurt our all-voluntary military. I was intending to ask questions about Northcom and Southcom until I got Mark's email this morning. Intentionally avoiding an event chock full of STEM talent and engineers because it happens to be a draw for Black engineers is more than an anti-DEI initiative. It is an intentional effort to avoid certain kinds of people in recruiting.
I just want y'all to be honest. You want to sit here, you want to lie, because so often we hear, well, you know, yeah, we did lie. In fact, he admitted that he lied when he was in the Oval Office yesterday. But if it's a lie that will get you into office, such as saying, I know nothing about Project 2025, yet on day one, you literally do everything that you can to implement it, including making sure that you put, say, one of the main architects of Project 2025 over the OMB, it's okay so long as you get the power that you seek. The problem is that the game is going to be on the American people. And when I say the American people, I mean all of us. Unfortunately, I am also stuck in the twilight zone because of the lies that were allowed to be propagated. Just like when you're talking about vaccines and all this nonsense. Right now in my state of Texas, there is an outbreak of measles, and what they are finding is that because there's been so much disinformation about vaccines, that kids are sick right now with measles that they did not have to have if they just trusted
measles, bitch.
Doctors
Measles.
and experts instead of randoms online.
Didn't we get rid of measles? You know, 1 second. Just 1 second. Hold on, because I feel the need. I feel the need to do this. Let's see. How are we on our fuck around and find out a meter? Are we pretty high yet? What say you, chat? What say you, chat? Are we at our fuck around and find out on meter? I'm just saying. Yep, that's in Texas, by the way. Spreading to the East Coast. Absolutely. Spreading. Yes. I have questions. Measles, of all things. Now, to be fair, started probably before Trump got in office. However, the issue here is that the disinformation campaign is heavy on the conservative side. Heavy. I can certainly understand some issues on the C19 aspect of it. I can kind of understand that. But measles, bitch? Measles? Of all vaccines, you want to have any problems with measles? Haven't we been here before? Penicillin, bitch? Penicillin? I'm just saying, penicillin. What are we doing? Okay. Anyway. So let me wrap this up for a second here. We got FEMA. Oh, FEMA. Let's give you some numbers on FEMA, shall we? I've been spending some nights doing some digging. So appropriations for states. This is separate from FEMA money, okay? Appropriations for states. See, Trump wants to do away with money from FEMA going to states for disasters, okay? That means that the money that Congress just gives to each state at the beginning of each appropriation year, okay? So after it appropriates the money, it apportions it to the states. Okay? Okay. This is how much money it gives to Florida. $30.2 billion just this FY alone. Alabama, $10.5 billion. Texas, $42.7 billion. West Virginia, $6.8 billion. Missouri, $14.3 billion. Mississippi, $10.8 billion. That's how much it just gives to those states. Now, that money is then apportioned to each of the different types of, it's then supposed to be apportioned to each of the types of departments within its state's government to some degree. So a portion of that's what I call apportionment. A portion is meant. See, I did that. Is meant for Department of Education, to which the Department of Education comes in and says, we're going to allot from that apportionment a certain amount of this money And we're going to say that you are responsible to make sure that this amount of money is allotted for. So let's say Florida, a portion of the appropriation of that 30.2 billion is meant for education. Make sure you spend this amount of money on education. That's what the role of the Department of Education is for. What I read in the Project 2025 education column, or pillar as they call it, is that they still want the money. They just don't want the government coming in and telling them what to do with it. That's like saying, I want to ask a mob boss for money, but I don't want the mob boss telling me what to do with the money. Shit. That's not how any of this works. So Trump says, cool, bet. You could have this 30.2 billion, 10.5, 42.7, 6.8, 14.3, 10.8 billion, because I don't control that. Congress controls that. But this FEMA money, Congress technically controls that because I have to give it to you technically. But if I put Elon Musk over at the Treasury Department, pressing stop at the Treasury Department unconstitutionally, yeah, I could pause any of your requests that comes in. I could strip FEMA and say, we don't know what's happening with FEMA. Don't know why those requests aren't coming in. Golly gee. Now, let's find out how much money. Oh, by the way, really quick. Since every one of these states are red, they're red, largely conservative, very religious, very Christian. Also very poor in comparison to blue states. The GDP pales in comparison to majority of blue states, except for Florida. If it wasn't for Texas and Florida, man, you red states would be whoo-hoo. Yikes. But Florida, for instance, as much money as a powerhouse that Florida is, guess how much money it pulls from FEMA? Not the department, not DHS, from FEMA, because FEMA is part of DHS. Don't nobody try me. But it pulls money from big DHS, but it still pulls money separately from the sub-agency. So guess how much money it pulls from DHS? I'm sorry, from FEMA. 9.27 million. Sorry, correction. Billion. Now, when you are dividing contracts, you must understand that there's a difference between emergency contracts and non-emergency contracts. So I did a little splicing. Guess how much of it was non-emergency contracting? 1.37 billion. That means of the 9.27 billion, only 1.37 billion of it was non-emergency. That means that the majority of it was emergency. So of the 30.2 billion that it automatically gets every year, fiscal year, like clockwork, it gets an additional 9.27 billion. Let's go to the next largest red state that gets the most FEMA money, because Florida is number one. You want to guess who is the number 2 state in the country that gets the most FEMA money? I'm sorry, red state that gets the most FEMA money. You guessed it, it's Louisiana. It is 633.63 million. Big jump. In Alabama, 32.08 million. Craziness. Craziness. These states need FEMA. And you got Republicans like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're going too far. Too far. But here's the problem. He told y'all. See, Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. But too often, there's always some orange fart sucking fucker who comes around and says, oh, that's not what Trump meant. And then there's always some red voting musketeer saying, well, yeah, well, I guess that's not what he meant. You guys are fear mongering. You need to understand that that's really not what he meant. Believe not what you see, just believe what you hear. Really? So believe not that I see a riot at January 6th, but believe the fact that I'm hearing a fucking old congressman tell me that it was a tourist visit. Right? Very well. Now, the next thing I'll go through, because again, FEMA is going to affect you red states more than it ever will affect blue states. I purposely don't live in Florida. The insurance is too high. And God just seems to love plummeting Florida and Oklahoma. I don't know why those people don't learn a lesson. Get out. Stop living there. All right. So let's go down the list. Dissolving the Department of Education. Maybe. I just showed you in the fine print that maybe he'll keep it, but we'll see. Measles outbreak in Texas. Again, maybe not entirely his fault, but he ain't doing shit about it. That's the part. Inflation going the opposite direction. That's them tariffs. Which shout out to the president of Mexico. She is working his nerves. Love her. Limitation of taught history. We just went through that. Takeover of Gaza. Gaza? Taking it over? Now, that's not what we talked about. None of you Christians mentioned anything about that shit. Y'all like the fact about his policy. Gaza. Now, all of a sudden, apparently I can't say that word. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to be going over there and taking it over? Laughable. Oh, and the disruption of the FAA. Now, we went 4 whole years without a single plane crash. And then in less than 2 weeks, we've had how many? Total coincidence. The hiring freeze had nothing to do with it. Nothing. And farmers are struggling to maintain because the farmers especially the conservative farmers, guess who they were hiring? Oh, I'm sorry. Guess who they were gathering? Yeah, undocumented workers that they couldn't verify with an I-9 form. Yeah. So when you invoke someone like, I don't know, who's talking about the Alien Enemies Act and doing ICE raids and whatnot, those farmers, yeah, Trump, we got to make sure that I don't want nobody in my locker room, in my daughter's locker room, when technically that wasn't only happening, but in certain areas, which I would agree with you that shouldn't be happening. But if it was happening in certain areas, all it would take was common sense negotiation, not voting a megalomaniac into the damn White House, but overcorrection like a motherfucker. God damn. Because now the people that you had that you were illegally hiring in the first place, which those people should be going to jail too, by the way, because they have a duty and responsibility to ensure they were verifying the people that they were hiring in the first place. But I digress. Wasn't like they were breaking any laws, but we're a country of law and order, right? Sure. The people that you were paying, they said, peace, gotta go. And now guess what? Shit's dying on the vines. No one's at a picket. And guess what? Here's the thing. Black people are going far away from a fucking farm. Listen, I won't spend any money at a place called a plantation. I would not spend my black dollars earned from my black job at a place called a plantation. Farms is pushing it. Fields, you're getting close. You will not catch my black ass at a place called plantations, much less work at a place called that. No, sir. I am not my ancestors. I do fight back. No, absolutely not. I will shovel concrete like I did when I was 19 before I ever do that. Yes, boss man shoveled concrete. Stick around, you'll learn some more about me. But you might actually get some other people who might be interested in actually doing the work if you're willing to pay them more. Oh, but wait, that's the problem. American business owners are greedy and they don't want to pay motherfuckers. That's the problem. Now, boss man, what does it got to do with religion? Oh, because you Christian assholes forgot all about this common sense shit when it came time to think about these things, when y'all was so worried about who the fuck somebody else was fucking. Y'all forgot all about that when Wesley Snipes was playing into one fu. When RuPaul was basically being fabulous and RuPaul's drag race. And here's the thing, he's not confused about being a he. And here's the thing, most trans people are not confused about being exactly who the fuck they are. It's the non-binary people that seem to have an issue. And I told y'all if y'all were listening, I told y'all during my Conundrum series that there was a civil war within the LGBTQIA+ community. Let them sort it out. had nothing to do with y'all. Yeah. But no. Let them sort that shit out. Let them have it. Because even they were like, y'all need to, y'all need to pipe that shit down. Why? Because it was creating a problem. It was creating tension. It was creating a tolerance issue. I showed y'all clip after clip after clip of even conservative LGBTQIA people saying, okay, y'all go sit the fuck down. Y'all doing too much. And some of them were even Christian too. Didn't listen. Your side of the Christian side of the bridge are so incensed with the fact that these people over here even exist. That's what you won't admit. That you're willing to have economic complete disaster, that you're willing to make injurious decisions that are even completely double-edged sworded towards your own life and family. Injuriously fucking up your own life. It was the eggs. Well, now there's a pause on egg buying. Now people are limited on how many eggs they can buy now. Congratulations. And to black people, by the way, I'm gonna show you the next clip. But you coloreds, watch this shit. Because while you the 20 to 25% of you who voted for this orange shit stain, y'all thought that he was gonna go after trans people. He ain't signed one goddamn executive order that has anything to do with trans people. I ain't seen the word transgender yet on any of these bullshit ass fucking executive orders yet. But you know what I have seen? A whole lot of shit that has to do with fucking black people. And DEI has a whole lot more to do with you and I than a fucking white woman. To that individual, he know who he is. To the individual who said that DEI benefits white women more than black people. Well, if that's the case, then cool. Then fix DEI as opposed to completely taking a goddamn hacksaw to it and just chopping it away. Then sounds like you see the benefits of it. But complete extirpation does not seem to be the fucking answer. But no. They're peeling it away, yanking it away, and using people like people who on our side rather don't look like me. No, people on our side as mouthpieces. And there are some people on a cartoon called Boondocks. Well, listen to the damn clip.
Did a video, the title of which, if you want to go look for it, is Racist Trump Threatening Criminal Charges for Companies That Hire Black People. And in the thumbnail, because it's YouTube and you got to give a little bit of a mild clickbait, even though I stand by both the thumbnail and the title in this case, Trump bringing back segregation. And here's the description of the video. Jesse talks about Trump's dispatching of his Attorney General, Pat Bondi, to threaten criminal prosecutions of private companies who have DEIA policies to enable the hiring of Black, LGBTQ, etc. employees. So Donald Trump is threatening criminal action against private companies who have hiring policies that are their business, right? A lot of people push back. Oh, that's total clickbait. They're not bringing back segregation. They're not trying to not hire black people. This is just your liberal fever dream. There was all kinds of hateful, idiot comments of people who aren't clearly watching the landscape of what's taking place in the country, or are partisan hacks who are trying to cover for Donald Trump and their racism. Enter military.com. This isn't the New Republic. This isn't the Intercept. This isn't Mother Jones. This isn't a left-leaning journalistic outlet. Excuse me. This is military.com, an outlet that covers stories and has an understanding of what goes on in the military, has access to people. And there's a quote in here. In fact, I'll just read this quote. "It's fucking racist," one active duty Army general told military.com on the condition of anonymity to avoid retaliation. To avoid retaliation, this active duty general had to remain anonymous. Here's the headline: "Military drops recruiting efforts at prestigious Black Engineering Awards event." Now, let's take a step back before I read from this. The narrative by Republicans, the narrative by Donald Trump and other racists, yes, including him, others who are racist, is that DEI just wants to hire any black body, whoever. Just, get them in there. They're black. That's good enough. They act as though qualification has nothing to do with it. That it's just the color of your skin. Yep. And that actual qualified white people get boxed out of jobs so that an unqualified black person or gay person or trans person or woman, or name your hated group by Republicans, so they can get the job. That's what they would have you believe, right? So why, in this case, would they pull out of a prestigious Black engineering event that I think they said was like ripe with talent? It's the most dense talent venue or something like that is how they describe it. You're turning down the possibility of hiring wildly talented, wildly intelligent to put this into action. And as I talked about in a previous video, the makeup of the military is just about 50-50 white and then minority groups, Latino, Asian, Black, roughly 50-50. I think it was 49.6% Black and Latino, Black and brown folks, right? Here's the article. "The Army and other service branches are abandoning recruiting efforts at a prestigious Black engineering event this week, turning down access to a key pool of highly qualified potential applicants amid President Donald Trump's purge of diversity initiatives in the military. Until this week, Army Recruiting Command had a long-standing public partnership with the Black Engineer of the Year Awards, or BEYA, an annual conference that draws students, academics, and professionals in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. The event, which takes place in Baltimore, oh no, that's a historically very black city. I see why they wouldn't want to go. Very scary for white Republicans. Ooh. Yeah. The event, which takes place in Baltimore, has historically been a key venue for the Pentagon to recruit talent, including awarding reserve officers training corps scholarships and pitching military service to rising engineers. Past BEYA events have included the Army Chief of Staff and the Defense Secretary. Quote, "This is one of the most talent-dense events we do," one Army recruiter told military.com, on the condition that their name not be used. "Our footprint there has always been significant. We need that talent," says a subject matter expert, a military recruiter. We need that talent, whether they be black or white. These are talented, qualified, skilled individuals. The services cited concerns that participation in the predominantly black event could run afoul of Trump's order and the Pentagon's intensifying push to erase diversity efforts in the military, according to multiple sources familiar with the decision.
It could run afoul.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on January 31 ordered that Black History Month, Women's History Month, and others were officially dead, quote unquote, and that the military would no longer mark them. Quote, "In compliance with the Department of Defense and Headquarters Department of the Army guidance, U.S. Army Recruiting Command will not participate in the upcoming BEYA event," Madison Bonzo, a service spokesperson, said in a statement to military.com. Quote, "Service members and civilians are permitted to attend this event in an unofficial, personal capacity if they choose to do so." The Navy, Air Force, and Space Force also pulling out of the event. And then down here, additional recruiting events tied to specific racial or gender groups are also likely to be scrapped, two defense officials told military.com. That includes other conferences and career fairs with thousands of participants. Thousands of qualified, highly skilled participants. So what's the reason? They're black. Are they qualified? Yes. Are they highly skilled? Yes. Are they sought after? Yes. Would they benefit the military? Yes. But because they're black, this is where the rubber hits the road, folks. It's that, are they skilled? Yes. But are they black? Yes. Disqualified. We're not even going to look at them. We're not going to seek them. We're not going to try to recruit them because they're black. In spite of the fact that they're qualified. In spite of the fact that they have a specialization, a skill set that is wildly needed.
Good to see you, Sparta. And this right here is what infuriates me. Because predominantly, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit to show you. The reason why I focus on conservatives is because of stuff like this. Exit polling. Born again or evangelical Christians. 82%. I'm sorry, 82. So 27%. Yes. So 82 right here. Trump. It's safe to say that if you are Christian, if you're a Christian, you are conservative. If you're conservative, you are voting for majority, predominantly for Republican. And you're voting for the predominant party line. Now, you had some, okay, who crossed over, but for the most part, and Harris was Baptist. Which goes to show you that just because you are Christian to some degree, yes, you can still believe that people have the right to be able to choose. It just means that there are some Christians who believe that you should be Levitical when it so fits you. Which I've grown to understand why. Because in one part of Matthew, Jesus does say that he didn't come to do away with the old law. He comes to fulfill it. But then he lists certain portions of the old law that are parenthetical, right? But not everything of the old law. So one could read it as only these are applicable and not all of them. But one could read it as he just pointed these things out because these were the ones that were most important to just kind of sort of pinpoint out to give as an example. If you were like just bringing up things, if you were just talking to somebody, right? Right. But then further along, as he's getting very irritated with the Pharisees and the Sadducees who were being petulant children in the crowd and being precocious in the crowd, mocking him in a sense. If you read the story a bit, he then says, "You know what? Fuck it. These are the two main commandments." Okay. And you can hang all those other shit that I just said. You can hang all the other prophets. You can hang all the other laws. You can hang all that up. These are the two commandments right here. These are two that are most important. All right. Love thy neighbor and love God for the most part. Some chapters later. So Jesus, in that same moment, whenever he's in the same book, but chapters apart from each other. In one chapter, he's uplifting the old law and says, "Hey, adultery is still adultery. You know, killing is still killing. He's going down the list of what's still a thing, right? But as he gets more and more irritated, I perceive he's being irritated. I'm just reading it for what the text shows. He just says, you know what, look, because they start asking questions. And I can probably see if you're in a crowd full of people, I can imagine that you're just irritated at this point because people aren't fucking getting it. Well, what about this coin? Should you pay, taxes, or should you pay a certain amount? And he's like, look, okay, give the shit that belongs to Caesar, okay? God don't care about this shit, okay? And give to God what belongs to God, okay? Now get out of my face. I mean, but it was the Pharisee and the Sadducees who was asking the question. And then shortly after all of that, here comes the Pharisees and Sadducees again. And finally he says, you know what? Woe to you motherfuckers, basically. You scribe and Pharisee, you vipers. You close off heaven. You close off the path of heaven heaven to others when you're not gonna make it your damn selves. He had enough with these people. Sometimes you have to make light of what is there, okay? But I could see the reason why there's some confusion, because in one part of Matthew, he says he's maintaining and he's just fulfilling it. But he does say that I'm fulfilling it up to the point of resurrection. But post-resurrection, it's just these two commandments, which would be love thy neighbor and love God. Now, I don't know what the heck the resurrection actually means. But what I can tell you is that he landed on those last two commandments. That's for y'all to figure out. What I can tell you is hate, for sure, gets us nowhere. And up until that point in time, the Bible is rife with disdain and hate, vitriol and venal behavior. All because they're not like us. Don't be like them. Ooh, white Christians. Protestant or other Christians and Catholic, predominantly Trump. Jewish, however, something else and none, which Jewish Christians, that don't even make no damn sense. Whatever. Again, Protestant, Christians, Catholic, predominantly. And the Catholic ones, for instance, this is where predominantly most of your Latino and Mexican individuals are, believe it or not. Which, my goodness, they voted against their interest. Because if you think the Alien Enemies Act isn't for them, oh, buddy. Ooh. Which I find it ironic. He wanted to get rid of birthright citizenship. It's just like a motherfucker to try to get rid of some shit after you benefit from it. Because wasn't he? Okay. That's just like somebody wanting to get rid of DEI after you've retired and benefited from the shit. Never mind. Just never mind. getting rid of Social Security after you done already withdrew Social Security for a while. Meanwhile, I've been paying into it since I was 14 and a half, but never mind, right? Right? At any rate, this is what happens when essentially you will let your religion breed, fester into the realm of politics. And you got people who think that this man is a fucking savior. You got people who think that this Tanner in chief, this bronze wearing, makeup wearing, goddamn taupe. Is it a taupe? Is it a toupee? It's not a toupee. It's not. We'll just say Rogaine needing motherfucker is somehow a messiah of some sort in all of his orange glory. Somehow. I am the chosen one, he says. And here's the thing. He's not even Christian. That has got to be the biggest slap in the face in the world. He's not even Christian. He's even said as much. I dare any of you weaponizing Christians anyway to go look and see where he went to school. I won't say it here because I can't say it here. But go look and see where he went to school. You might be interested in that. And no, not his military school. After his military school. Trust me, it ain't hard to find. At any rate, to me, this is prime example. And trust me, you ain't got to search hard on TikTok to find many people who are lamenting of their choices that they've made. People have lost their jobs. People are going to lose their jobs. All because this guy seems to think that everything is waste, fraud, and abuse. All right. States aren't going to get FEMA funding, and some of them states are going to be red states. Watch what I tell you. And I'm going to say it again. I said it before, and I said it again. I was right, and I'm still waiting on any one of y'all to come to me and tell me that I was right about the implementation of Project 2025 agenda. And I'm going to keep asking about it every week that I mention this Agent Orange commander. I'm definitely going to do so because I was told, as well as other people were told, that we were crazy for believing that Project 2025 was something that we didn't have to worry about because we were just fear-mongering because he denounced it. Of course, conveniently after he recognized that it was politically no longer expedient. But again, take a look at who is his OMB director. I mean, damn, he wrote a never mind. Just gonna Trump announces appointments. Let's see. OMB. No, that's right. I can just go over here. Administration. There, I got pictures. The cabinet. Management budget. There we go. Russell Vault. Right here. Check it out. Russell Vault. Now, the Heritage Action of America. They, of course, not going to put Heritage Foundation. They had to change the wording a little bit. Now, before I let you guys go, I am going to pull up a little bitty document. Because again, sometimes you got to show people. And I want to make sure it's on recording. Of the conservative promise. Because I pull this document out every so often. And I go by and read some more. I sure do. And I want to make sure that everybody sees it, who will stop by and who might not stop by. I mean, or who might stop. Well, if you won't stop by, you're not going to see it, but you get the point. All right, so let's go. Screen share. Let's go. And this is where we're going. Look at there. Now, we're just going to do a simple. Now, Heritage Foundation. Because that's really what it is. And Vault. Oh, Russ, you sneaky guy, you. Is the founder and president of the Center of Renewing America. And what did he do in this thing? He writes chapter 2 of this thing. Imagine that. And oh, wait, let's go back. Because he was slated to be what? He writes that the White House Office and Management of Budget should establish a reputation as a keeper of commander's intent. And yet OMB is dominated by career employees who often try to overrule political appointments serving in the various executive departments. Overpowering political appointees across the administration is crucial to the president's success. Well, I guess he got the job. Russ. Nice. So, there you have it, folks. I guess he got the job. But again, what do I know? I just spend time in my spare time pouring through documents. It's what I do. At any rate, this has been another edition of Religiosity Conundrum. You guys, you Christians, are in quite the pickle. I hope you learn from this one, although I'm afraid that you won't. Not to vote your religion. Vote what makes sense, as opposed to your religion. Not to hate based on your religion. So what? If your Old Testament tells you that certain things are abominations. Yeah. And screwing your auntie is also abomination, and standing in front of a donkey is as well. Okay, cool. There was a whole New Testament about doing things differently as well. And loving thy neighbor did not have contingencies on it. And if you read a little bit further, you'll also understand that Paul disagreed with Jesus. Yes, he did. Maybe focus more on what the one you deified said, as opposed to the one who cometh after him, saying that I have been ordained to speak on behalf as the anointed one, because the one who has been deified warned about people like Paul. At any rate, this has been another edition of the Stand on Business podcast. I am hoping that we don't have another election rather, where we have more fuckery and more finding out. But who knows? Apparently, you guys need to see more. And apparently, you guys are easily fooled. Okay? Now, I've already said that I'm not offering any more objective opinions or objective, how do I put it? I'm not offering any more objective conclusions about my side of things until I see some more objectivity on the Republican side of things. And I mean that. So no, I'm not going to sit here and say, any two-sided arguments about my side, because I didn't see that on y'all side. And for what is offered, much is required. I'm sorry. For what is wanted, much is required. And I've given enough. And so therefore, I'm going to fight fire with fire. And from what I can tell, my side wasn't trying to come over here and destroy and dismantle and completely move outside the confines of the Constitution. If you'd like to check me on it, that's perfectly fine. But before you check me on things, remember, I've offered you objectivity. You have yet to do so. So, with that in mind, what we see, maybe that's why a lot of Christians are saying that Jesus is too soft and liberal. That could definitely be the reason why. And that's why Paul had to come around, or maybe the church had to come around as Paul and say, yeah, we need, write these different letters to the church. Because didn't Jesus say, call no man teacher? But Paul had no problems going around teaching folks and acting like he was a teacher. Again, not ready for that conversation. That's another day. Maybe that's part 6. We'll see. At any rate, people, stay tuned for more fuckery, more fuck around and find out. This has been, again, another edition of Stand on Business podcast with your host, Boss Man, bringing the business and standing on that shit. Okay? Encouraging you to think more objectively, looking around and learning from your fucking mistakes, and being sure to keep your religion on Blessings Avenue and stay the fuck over there in Prayings Boulevard. And like a good neighbor and like a good Christian, pray and stay over there. Y'all have a good night, and whatever you come up with objectively, please make sure that you stand on that shit. Have a good night, everybody.